Yeah, brother, I really appreciate your content. I just want to share with people what's happening right now in Canada. And I know that you've maybe heard some stuff from followers and counterparts. They are making it mandatory for everyone in the country by October to fly or use a train or any sort of public transportation to get vaccinated.
You deserve better. You deserve a government that's going to continue to say, get vaccinated. And you know what? If you don't want to get vaccinated, that's your choice. But don't think you can get on a plane or a train besides vaccinated people and put them at risk. We need to be strong in the decisions we're taking going forward, and we need to put people first, which we have always done. And I'll be honest, you know, like I do, there's lots of people out there who don't agree with that. And the reality is, that's okay. We're in a democracy. People can make themselves heard. And that's part of why we need to have this moment for people to make that choice for the future.
I'm planning on moving to Florida next month. Thank God we figured out a way to do it legally, properly, of course. But I just needed to tell you that things are getting so bad. Every major city in Canada, like Toronto, is mandating all of their employees, whether they're blue collar or white collar, to basically get vaccinated by October, or else they lose their job. And then before they lose their job, they have to go, like the Chinese social credit system. You know what happens in China when you don't comply? They sit you down to train you on how good the government is. They're doing the same thing here, but it has to do with the COVID vaccine. So people need to know what's happening here. It is crazy. And you know,
it's official. Real quick, just to touch on that, and then please just keep crushing. I can tell you, I want to hear everything. You can't get on a plane, you can't get on a train or public transit starting October if you don't get vaccinated, and that's official. They're rolling out like a digital system or something, or paper system.
They've said that it's going to be official. Now we have an election coming up on the 20th. It's a federal election on the 20th of September. Justin Trudeau called it because he knows, listen, a lot of Canadians are petulant. I don't want to use the word sheep, but it's a very liberal place, whatever that means. And this isn't even about left or right, in my opinion. I'm more nonpartisan than anything. I used to be a huge Trump supporter. Now I don't support anybody. But the bottom line is that's what they're choosing to do. And it's just alarming. Nobody's fighting back. Literally, man, nobody has batted an eye in Canada. They're just letting it go now. Every major company, for people that still have jobs, they're making it mandatory to have vaccines. In Ontario, they've made it mandatory. In the province I live in right now, they've made it mandatory for any sort of nurse, doctor, or other medical or healthcare professional in the hospital system to get vaccinated, or else they're going to go through the same thing, training on the vaccine, and they have to get an exemption letter from a lawyer or a doctor stating why they can't take the vaccine. And then if that doesn't work out, then they basically lose their job. So it's literally come down to this. It feels like communism. I grew up here, so I'm spoiled. I don't come from a communist country. My grandparents came from Italy because it was in shambles after the war. So, they might have a better feeling of what that was like or understanding. But that's what's happening, brother. So I don't know what you're hearing from other people, but this is what's happening in Canada, and it is disgraceful. Nobody's doing nothing. And something's got to happen.
The counter to tyranny is democracy, is elections. And that's exactly what we're putting forward, because we have put Canadians at the forefront of everything we've done. And we know that's what we're going to continue to do. So I need you, all of you, to keep stepping up. We need to keep working to protect and build a better future together. And that's why I need you to continue to step up. I need you to talk to your neighbors and talk to your friends. Talk to those folks who are still wondering whether they should get vaccinated, and tell them, yes, they need to get vaccinated so we protect ourselves, protect our communities, and protect our kids who can't yet get vaccinated. That's what we need to do. I need you to get out there.
I wanted to ask you real quick, and then I kind of want to keep hearing everything going on in Canada. You're super well spoken and explaining it perfectly. How is Justin Trudeau able to call a federal election? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. How does that work?
So I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. I'm not really sure. That's a short answer. He knows that he's probably going to win because so many people in Canada are literally so scared of what's happening. Now, there was supposed to be a snap election, I believe, back in last fall in 2020, if I'm not mistaken, but that didn't happen. It's going to be mail-in ballots this time, of course, right? Which
Who
I don't know
else
how you
is
feel
running?
about.
Who's the conservative running?
His name is Aaron O'Toole, and he's literally a tool. He's not, doesn't have any conservative values, whatever that even means nowadays.
What's his stance on the vaccine passport?
He supports it. He says he's not going to do it.
It doesn't really matter.
Well, he says he's not going to do it, but he supports mandatory vaccination. So that tells me indirectly that he's going to probably support it. The only person he's considered far right, which he's not, his name is Maxime Bernier of the PPC, People's Party of Canada. He's the only one who's speaking out against it. Again, we just don't know if this is going to happen. Like you said, man, there has to be some sort of, like Chris Sky talks about, some sort of united non-compliance in order to see some sort of change. And dude, it is scary. Like Quebec, Manitoba, different provinces already have the vaccine passport. So this is already happening, and it's going to be rolled out like nationwide across the country. So my girlfriend and I are trying to get out beforehand so that we can at least, we're hiring so here's this. I live in Niagara Falls, Ontario. We have to hire a helicopter service. We're each going to pay $2,200 each to take myself, herself, and both of our dogs over the border because the border's shut. No Canadian is allowed to drive into the States. And and you can maybe correct me if I'm wrong, is the southern border, are there people not just walking in? I don't know.
I mean, it's a mess. Yeah, there's like thousands of people just pouring in. And I don't know what the Biden administration's doing, but it's been a mess for a while. It's worse now. And they have a whole little system where I don't know if it's refugee status, but yeah, it's probably easier to get in through the southern border illegally than it would be through the northern border legally.
Well, we're coming legally. We're doing it all properly. We got a lawyer we're going to be talking to when we get there. I mean, we're doing it all right. I'm going to open a business in Florida, so I'm really excited and grateful for that. But at the end of the day, it's really sad that we have to go like this. We can't even drive over the border, even if it's considered essential. We're going to have to pay a helicopter service to go over. And then they tow both of our vehicles over a flatbed truck right over the border to a small airport. U.S. border guard checks our passport. It's like a border outpost, so it's all legit. But it's just crazy that we have to do this, but we're gonna do it. And who knows what's gonna happen? We just, like, right now, man, it is crazy. And what we're seeing in Australia. My personal prediction, and this is baseless. I don't know if this is gonna happen. My personal intuition, my prediction is that this is going to start happening here. People are going to be dragged out of their homes, dragged from their offices. Kids are going to be taken away from their parents if they're not vaccinated. I mean, it is crazy, dude. So that's all that I wanted to share, man. If you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you really quick.
Yeah, I definitely do. And if you don't mind, can I post this on Facebook or YouTube? Because I want to get the
Yeah, man, of course. Right.
Cool.
And the sad reality is that the majority of Canadians, they always look to the U.S., and not all of them, but the news stations in Canada always, if something's going on in the world, they always blame the U.S., number one. Number two, they're all talking about, the numbers in Florida and Texas are high. This is high. That's high. It's Biden didn't handle it right. Trump didn't handle it right. And this, that, and they're not hateful towards America. They're always pointing and sputtering. They're never taking personal accountability, personal responsibility. And now we're left dealing with this big mess, right? Which, who's going to clean it up? What's going to happen? People like me who are considered, I don't know if I'm an influencer. I started speaking out online back in November of 2020 because I'm just a pissed off Canadian. I'm just the average guy who's just trying to have a good life, trying to put food on my table. And now we're forced to either leave or stay. A lot of people are going up north in Canada, but people don't really have firearms here. We don't have the same rights. And really, our Constitution, aka the Charter of Rights and Freedoms in Canada, which was written in the late 1800s, about 100 years after you guys, was not built on the same foundation when it comes to actually protecting the people from a potential future rogue government. As far as I'm concerned, the Constitution's written a little bit more in stone with that. So this is the scary part. Nothing's being adhered to. I have a friend that owns a big restaurant chain here in Ontario that he took on the Canadian government. He paid over almost $300,000 in legal fees. Adamson Barbecue, great guy. And he took on the government saying, actually, we're going to be challenging these lockdown mandates, not just provincial wide, but nationally. And he was in the court almost 2 months ago now, and they threw the case out. They threw it out. So they're not even hearing cases. So people that are going to lose their jobs, nurses, doctors, people that don't feel comfortable taking the vaccine for whatever reason, it doesn't have to be political. We know that there's a lot going on. I've heard about a lot of stuff. I do have a handful of followers from New York City, from California, just a handful. And I've heard of what's going on. Of course, I'm not there, so I can't really speak to what's going on, but it's very similar to what's happening across my entire country. And, this is where we grew up. This is where we've broken bread and had, made friends and family members and had, all this amazing things. People plan to have families here and just live their life free. Canadians don't want to be free. There's about 20 to 30%. I'm just going off of, if the vaccine numbers are correct, that means there's 38 million Canadians in Canada. big country, small population, right? 7.4 million Canadians, if the numbers are correct, have denied the vaccine up until today. You know, that's a lot of people, but a lot of those people are afraid to speak out. People like me, now I haven't been, thank God, but a lot of people have been arrested for speaking out. As soon as you hold a microphone at a protest or rally, some people have been arrested and charged with a criminal nuisance charge, which in Canada is it's a devastating charge, because that means that the judge, the government, they can go after you for anything. It's like a 30,000-foot view charge, which means it could be anything. Oh, you're spreading the virus for holding it. Like, literally, it is unbelievable. Now, that's not happening to a lot of people. It's just the people that are speaking out.
In Australia too, I mean, multiple people I've interviewed have one gotten charges, and apparently one got arrested that I interviewed the other day. I'm not sure what for or how they stacked up, but I've seen charges of like people being out just drinking alcohol, and they got a violation, multiple health violations. Didn't even have to do with the alcohol. It all had to do with like standing outside and being out in public when the Australian government told you not to. So in Canada, you know, they're not as protest as we are, and it's kind of slipping away in America too. They're using January 6th and they're using things like that to try to paint a broad brush, and that's why I go so hard on people here. It's not that our conservatives are terrible. We're so good that you want to come here and join in that. I just don't want to end up like you guys, and I see that Overton window where you think your conservatives are conservatives, and then you wake up one day and they're not. I mean, Doug Ford, I thought he was the real deal. I followed him on Twitter. He's like worse than a liberal here, you know? So I just don't want that to happen here. That's why I kind of challenge my side.
I agree. And you know what, man, at the end of the day, I know that a lot of this is happening in some states in America, and America's not necessarily safe from this yet. But I know that if I'm going to be in a place like Florida or something for now, and this might change, right? I don't want to say anything in stone. At least
way better than Canada, bro. Welcome. Come on over. California is better than Canada. I live in California, 10 times better than Canada right now, even though it's a blue state. So please come on over.
Now, are people being dragged out of their homes and arrested in California? Are they being arrested at the grocery store for not having a mask? Like, what's going on?
Oh, no, I live in a red area of California. I haven't worn a mask in my town in a long time, and there's no problem. I go into a grocery store fine, restaurant fine. Most of the employees where I live don't have one on. I don't live in LA, though. LA sucks. No offense. I lived there for 7 years. LA, I had a friend get kicked out of Kitchen 24 because she didn't have a vaccine passport, and she left a Yelp review, and Yelp deleted her review. So you can't even eat in certain areas in LA. Which is funny because I'll say not that far away, but in a conservative Republican area. And It's like the opposite. I've never once been asked for a passport. I've never once been told to put a mask on in the last 3-4 months. It's seriously great. Even Colorado's a blue state. I was in a blue city. Not a single employee had a mask on, let alone not only didn't ask you, they didn't even have a mask on. So America is way better than Canada and Australia. Even California is better, but LA and New York City and Portland, Seattle, all these like super liberal cities are like no-go zones, in my opinion. I mean, people are fine there, and it's probably even better than Canada there because there are places rebelling and places that don't force you, but they're the closest thing to it.
In all respect to Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, whatever, I don't even think what's going on has to do with liberalism. I think this is way beyond anything that we're even used to remotely on the political spectrum. It's way beyond. I mean, whatever you want to call it, tyranny, totalitarianism, communism, whatever you want to call it. And this really is a global thing. So at least I know in Florida, if I can get there, which is the plan, which I'm pumped about, my neighbor is going to be able to be my friend, and we can protect each other. And no one's going to say, well, you know what, I'm just going to be a cuck today. I'm not going to say anything.
I just want to show you real quick the definition of liberal, because you mentioned how this isn't liberal or conservative.
Sure.
You're totally right. I mean, look at the definition. It says liberal, willing to respect or accept behavior of our opinions different from one own, open to new ideas, relating to denoting a political social philosophy that promotes individual rights, civil liberties, democracy, and free enterprise. Literally, the definition of liberal means open to new ideas, leave people alone, liberty. Like, they are psycho-medical authoritarians. They just got duped into, for some reason, that Trump era and like that whole wave of media brainwashing on these people turned them from like normal liberals into like psycho authoritarians, and it's very creepy. And I'm glad to hear what you're thinking. I guarantee you that there's a bigger minority than you think in Canada that just doesn't want to speak out. And I think you're right to get out of there. I left Los Angeles. Greatest decision I made.